Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video. I just got a bunch of parts in for the 57, a bunch of brake parts, almost everything I need. So I'm gonna get to work on this beautiful machine. The very first thing I'm gonna do is an easy one. The brake pedal pad. I'll show you what I got going on here, if you can even see it. But that's a new accelerator pedal, and the bolts were snapped for it. So what I did is I just welded it, spot welded it in there, and then I got the correct pad for this one, the clutch, but for some reason I ordered a 54, I think it was, brake pedal pad, and it's totally too big. So alright, so that looks a whole lot better. So now I got new rubber all the way around. Also, I forgot to show you guys the battery box I've been working on. Battery tray. That's the start of it. That's gonna go just right in here like that. There might be some guys crying about that. That's not original and all that stuff. It's not an original style battery box, but I really don't care. There's the old one. It's completely rotted out. 3 different pieces. Didn't really hold a battery anymore. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to just kind of weld a support like this to the inside of the fender to hold it in. And that's going to be welded kind of to the radiator mount. And then, or the core support I should say. And then kind of a little bit on the edge there. Should be more than enough to hold it, and then I'll just have some all thread running through here and a bar on top to clamp the battery in. Alright, pulling out some parts, getting ready to put the front brakes together, and there are no instructions, so that's really helpful, but I should be able to figure it out. Alright, I'm starting to get it together here. It's actually really simple. Got the bracket on, just that one big bolt in the top. There's a spacer in the back to make up for the bracket, and then the arm just bolts over everything. Pretty simple. Well, I finally got the front brakes done. Took me way longer than it should have. Every time I put the calipers on, the brakes would be locked up, and I just couldn't figure it out until I realized that I needed to trim the brake pad. You can see right there. Had to trim the corner of it to clear the bracket. So if anybody gets the kit from Speedway, maybe I'll be able to help you out here by telling you you got to cut that little edge. Now everything spins the way it should. Alright, now that I got the fronts done and figured out, to move on to the rear. I got new drums here. I think this is the first time I've ever bought drums. I've never really had to buy any. They're usually fine, but these ones were completely shot. So I got those, and then I got wheel cylinders, and oh yeah, the brake shoes. I'm gonna get started on that. I got the rear brakes on passenger side tore down. That was pretty bad. Both of the bolts for the wheel cylinder snapped, so I'm gonna have to find some bolts for that. But I also got the all the studs out. I got new studs to replace them. They're pretty bad shape. So I'm going to start putting this back together. I'm not going to be putting a parking brake on for now. Probably going to go back in here and put that on later on down the road. It's just one of those things. I'm trying to get this on the road as quick and cheap as possible. Don't really need a parking brake. It's super handy, especially on a manual, but I'm going to roll with it for now. Got the wheel studs in. Went smoothly except for that one right there, but we're not going to talk about that. So now I'm ready to put the wheel cylinder on. Try to find some bolts for it and throw it together. Alright, I got this side all together. That was kind of a battle. Now I just gotta put the drum on and adjust it. Start tearing into the other side. Alright, this side's all done. Also got the brake lines installed. The only thing I'm missing is the hose. I gotta get the hose. And so back here is looking good. So now that I got all that stuff done, I'm gonna start working on the booster, figuring all that out. I think I was gonna run 3/16 line to the back, but since I actually have the fittings and stuff, and I even have some 1/4 inch line over here, that might be enough. I think I'll run 1/4 inch. That way I won't have to run a bunch of adapters to get to the hose and adapters off of the proportioning valve either. So I'm gonna get after it. Got the booster installed. Took a while to get the push rod for the brakes all adjusted correctly to reach the pedal. That's all dialed in. I'm happy with the amount of room I have. I thought it was going to be a little more crowded over here. I still got room to pull the dipstick out and still room between my wires and stuff. Just got done bleeding the master cylinder here. I think I got all the bubbles out of it. So I'm going to top that off. I was doing this and I was wondering why it just would not stop making bubbles, and then I realized it's one of these master cylinders that has the ports on both sides, so I capped those ones off because I won't be needing them. Took me way too long to figure that out, but at least I got it figured out. My 1/4 inch brake line is actually long enough, just barely, to get to the rear brake hose, so that's cool. I won't have to buy that. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up a new one of these just as preventative maintenance. The little sealing surfaces in there, they don't look very good, and chances are I'll put this all together and go to bleed the brakes and it'll leak and just be an annoying thing that I'll have to replace, so I'm gonna go ahead and get one of them. I need to get a plug for the top port on the proportioning valve. I'm not going to use that one. Technically you can run one of these to one side and the other to the other side, but I'm just going to use the bottom and run it to the T. Simplify it. It seems like it would be less simple, but it's much easier to bleed that way. And that's not something I'm using. I'm just going to take this so I can get the hose that's that size for the vacuum line. I should know what size that is, but I don't really mess around with hoses a whole lot, so I'll take that with me. And I got 1/4 inch nuts already, so good there. I gotta order the hose, the rear hose, and that should be about it. Once I get all the lines finished up, then I can bleed it. Alright, quick update. I got all 4 shocks installed. That gave me quite the battle. I worked on it 2 afternoons after work. All the bolts were just rusted. I pretty much had to cut all the old shocks off. So, got all new shocks all the way around. And the car already feels so much better. Especially the back, such a huge difference. I pulled the plug on the diff and the fill plug. Amazingly, those came off without too much of a hassle. And everything's drained out, so that's cool. Put some fresh fluid in there, or oil I mean. I'm going to start working on the front brakes, the brake lines. I got my T-fitting, which is like 16 bucks. just for that. Could have used the old one, but I didn't want to take a chance on it. I think I already explained that. It's just kind of boogered up. So, also got my little plug for that top fitting. So I'm going to run that line down to the T and tee it off to right and left. Then all I'll have to do is the rear line to go to the rear brake hose. Alright, it's been like 2 weeks since my last video. I had some issues with the brakes. This new master cylinder I got was bad, so I had to get a new one. And that is what's in this box over here. So I'm going to work on that right now and get this bled. And hopefully this one will be good. Put that on and maybe I'll have some brakes. The problem was the front reservoir was working for the front brakes, and that's actually a disc Corvette master cylinder, so both front and back are the same size, and the front port goes to the front fitting and vice versa. The front would bleed out, so I had front brakes, but the rear port was not working. And I tried bleeding the master cylinder, make sure that was all good, and it just wasn't working. Something was bad, they forgot to put a seal in there or something, I don't know. But hopefully this new one will be good and we'll have brakes. And also the pedal never got hard, it was just always spongy, it would just go all the way to the floor. So get this thing figured out. Hey guys, what's going on? It's the next day since my last little clip I made. I got the new master cylinder on. And it works. I got it bled properly, and now I've got some pedal and I got brakes. So that's awesome. That was frustrating, but that hurdle has crossed. Now here's the next thing, because literally nothing I do on this car goes smoothly. Now the tires won't fit in there, even with the axle dropped as far down as it'll go. Tire's just a little on the big side, so I've been kind of rolling this edge hoping to get it to fit. Still won't fit, so I've been fighting this, but the front wheels went on good, clears the brakes and everything, so that's all good there. It looks funny right now because it's actually on jack stands. It'll drop down once it's on the ground, but right now the car is about to fall off the jack stands, as you can see. So I should probably fix that before I work on it. So I'm going to do that. Alright, I got the front wheels and tires on. You're probably also wondering why I'm using such huge tires. Two reasons. Number one, they were free. Number two, the more sidewall you got, the smoother it'll ride. And we got a lot of dirt roads and rough roads around here, and I want the car to be practical. So it's really the perfect size tire for that. Should ride pretty good. But check out this alignment. Check out how far off this is. So this wheel is straight, and this wheel is like hard to tell on camera, but it's turned quite a bit to the left. So I'm gonna have to, figure out how to do that. Do some backyard alignment work and figure out how to get that straightened out. I think it's pretty easy. I sprayed down the little adjustable sleeve thingies with PB Blaster, and believe it or not, I've never actually done an alignment before. Never, because I've never had to. All my vehicles, they always were pretty straight and the tires wore evenly, and I never had to worry about it. I've been working on cars pretty consistently for 10 years now. I've never actually done an alignment, so I'm gonna get to try it out on this thing, because this is really bad. Maybe you can tell from this angle, but no telling when this thing was last on the road. 70s, I think, by the look of everything. been a long time. It feels good to be getting all this stuff done on it though. All the brakes are new all the way around. It's going to be a good car. It's just frustrating. Everything I've done on this thing has been a problem. I've never had so much trouble building something before. It's funny. Just everything I do on it, I run into a problem. But we're getting there. Alright, I got all the wheels on. See, these are really tucked up in there. We got clearance all the way around. Tight, but it works. Just basically pulled that out on both sides. And that'll work. So now I'm going to jack it up and try to fix this alignment issue. Alright, the redneck alignment is done for now. That was actually super easy. Just had to adjust this side. See, it's fairly straight with this wheel now. So it's good enough for now. I'm still going to have to do the string trick. Tie the string over there and bring it over here. I'm going to do all that, but the thing is I don't have a string right now, and I live 30 minutes from town, so I can't always just, or I don't always feel like just going to town to get little things like that. So for now it's good. I'm going to run it like this to kind of test it and stuff. At least that wheel is not like this, and it's not going to be fighting the steering. It should actually go down the road fairly straight, but I need to dial it in and fine tune it so I'm not wearing the tires out. But that's a whole lot better, so that's cool. So now I think I need to move on to my battery tray. I really need to get that finished up so I can put the battery back in it, because I'm getting so close to being able to actually drive this thing. Now I have brakes, I have a clutch pedal, I have throttle, no wiring, but I can rig up a switch and button and stuff up here. Don't have a fuel system yet, just a hose to go in a gas can, but that's not going to stop me. Hopefully I've got all the coolant leaks fixed. I had like 600 different coolant leaks I had to fix. I got my thermostat all sealed back up. I hope that will fix it. It's just been one thing after the next. This car should have been running and driving months ago, but that's okay. There's no time crunch for any of this stuff. I just do it for fun. But I would really like to get this thing. I'd like to be able to drive this thing before the end of the summer. But it doesn't really matter, because down here we get beautiful days in December. I'm still trying to adjust to that. Like, I'm so you know I grew up in New York, and winters are long and brutal, and when winter comes you just put your car away, your nice car away, and take it out in the spring. But down here you can drive this stuff December, January sometimes. The worst is January and February, but we still get those days that you can take the car out. I need to get all the heat working in this thing. I never learned my lesson. The last two cars I built, well, actually that's not true. The square body, I kept the heat in that, and it's got working heat, so that's awesome. But the 72 Chevy pickup and the 56 Buick, I deleted the heat on those and shaved the firewall basically. So those don't have any heat. I'm not going to do that again. Heat is so handy when it's cool out, so you can defrost the window. And it's basically a big problem. It's a reason why I don't drive some of my stuff when it's chilly out. If the window's fogged over, I don't have a way to defrost it. And if I keep heat, if I get heat working in this thing, I can drive it through the winter if I wanted to. So I need to figure out all this stuff. I'm going to try to get all the original type of stuff working. Put a new motor in it. The ducting and all that stuff is the annoying part. And just kind of try to get all this stuff figured out. But that's later on. I don't have to worry about it right now. Alright. So I got my battery box all done. it looks really good. Turned out good. It's got a strap here to, or strap, I mean a bar here to kind of support it, and it's welded. It's really strong. And then I got the threaded rod up through here with a bar across the top to hold the battery in with the wing nuts. So that's really cool. Decided not to paint anything because that's kind of the theme of the car. Just kind of let it naturally kind of rust like everything else and just get that patina look going on. It's kind of how everything is with this car. I don't really paint anything with it. I did paint the engine mounts and stuff underneath, but all this stuff I'm not going to paint. Just got done with this here. This is going to be a bracket for my ignition switch and some other switches that I'll need. And I'm just going to stick that under the dash. I'm going to start doing the wiring. I'm going to start with just the essentials to get it running. I've got a universal ignition switch. Actually, I should probably not show the internet that because those keys are very generic. But, you know, doesn't really matter. These cars are super easy to hot wire anyway, so the key is not going to stop somebody from stealing it if they really wanted it. Besides, I'll have some hidden kill switches and stuff. And also, most cars now these days, they get stolen with tow trucks, and you know, it's try not to worry about it too much. I'm planning on putting GPS tracking devices in all my vehicles, though. That's really the big thing that could save your vehicle, is a cheap little tracking device hidden up somewhere hard to get to that couldn't be easily spotted. I think I'm going to go that route. Thankfully, where I live, there's not a very big theft problem, but you never know. And thankfully, most of my cars are pretty junky and not worth a lot of money. So, you know, not really the type of thing that people like to steal. And that's part of the reason why I love driving junk. You don't have to worry about it as much. Alright guys, I got some wiring done. See, I got it loomed up here. This is my starter and my power wire for the constant power side of the fuse block. And then I've got a choke wire wired into key on part of the fuse block. And then in here, some people are going to laugh at me. I'm not using a factory harness. I'm just building it completely from scratch, but there's my fuse block right there. I've got one done so far. That's tack and choke wired into one fuse. And then on the bottom I got key on. The top I got constant. So my two heavy big 10 gauge wires there. And then I've got my key over there. And it all works. I just checked it out. Turns over. So that's cool.